And hello again, and here we are in this workshop with the Z650 engine. As you can see, we've already made a start, or he has already made a start on disassembling the bike. Now, Les has just popped out to get some tea, so that's why I'm just doing a quick intro. But I filmed a little bit before when he was just making a start on the engine, and we have found a couple of quite serious problems. So, we'll go back in time about 10 minutes when I walked in and Les was here working on the engine.
You see them spots there? I think the case hardening's come off.
Yeah, well,
I haven't got my fingernail in there yet to see if it's... Is that a deep pit, that? Yeah, so that's fucked.
Yes.
Someone's tightened the camshaft down and not got the meshing gears on the tacho driving line. You can see two polish marks there. See, it's all battered.
Yeah.
When the teeth haven't engaged properly.
Okay, we're not using the tacho drive.
Oh no, it's coming. I know it's coming out anyway. So that doesn't matter.
Right, so let's go back a little bit and start from the beginning.
Okay.
Here we have the Z650 engine that you're going to start on.
Yeah.
You found a couple of big problems even before we started.
Yeah. Well,
which is the crankcases have a big crack in them, a big miss.
It's usual when they go down the road on this right hand side. It wipes the cover off.
Yeah, and it wipes it.
It's ripped the bolts out. Right. So they want welding and rethreading. Yeah. There's a crack here. Yeah. There's a broken pin there from the past.
Which we can sort out. Yeah.
Someone's painted over it. There's a little nick here.
Yeah, we can sort that as well.
This
usual things really.
The inlet camshaft when I took it out was picked up. The first one I've ever seen on a Z650. Big score marks.
Oh god, yeah.
There, on journals, and the corresponding journals here.
I'll take a picture of that.
It'll probably dress and run.
Well,
no, I think it will run. It's only going to be a low spot. You know, two low spots. It'll probably hold oil better, actually. That's runnable. You know,
it's not come out. The cam chain you said was absolutely stretched to hell.
Yeah, the cam chain's been throwing up the sprockets, and it's actually.
And you can see here. I'll take a photograph later on. But you can see what's marked.
You can see it's dug into the case in here and put some grooves here.
Yeah, and
that's so far.
So far, so bad.
So far, so bad. It's usual on engines like this. You see it all the time.
Right. I made them on their 2023 Futures Pass.
I've undone all the bolts till it was still red off.
Yes.
And I very carefully give it a knock here and there, but they're welded together. I can't get corrosion. The head should come off. Well, I don't know whether there's any pry points on 650s. I don't want to break any things, obviously.
A bit of heat maybe might.
I think a little bit more. Hit him with a dead blow.
Yeah.
You know, a bit of persuasion with a bit of wood and a dead blow hammer would probably do it.
Yeah.
Took up all the inlet manifold rubbers here. The two screws holding that one on were loose. Breather covers off. You can see by the state of the oil here, it's not oil, water. It's oil, isn't it?
It's not happy, is it? Well,
it's clean.
Clean.
So that's a good sign.
Yes. Hopefully we're digging a bit more, we can find out a bit more.
Yeah, it's obviously just wants completely renovating.
Yeah, you can't just do a quick job on this. I mean, finding out that crankcase is cracked means the cases have to come apart, be welded, repaired, blah blah blah. Yeah. Unless you want new crankcases which are not paid for. So. Yeah. Anyway, we know a man who can fix that. So
we do. So that's not a big problem. The head's serviceable. There's a few grooves here, but it's not a problem. Pity all the pins this side are good. It's usually the right hand side that's looked at more.
Yes. Well, she's fallen on that side, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably done when the same accident that's done the rip the cover off.
Yeah. And also damage the swing arms, I remember.
But you get bikes that 40, 50 years old. It's got history. Yeah, exactly. They're bound to have been down the road at some point.
Right. So we'll come back later on, and hopefully we can get the head off. Hopefully.
Cup of tea. I'm just about to have a cup of tea.
Sounds good to me. And now here we are, back at Liz's workshop, a few days later. As you can see, the engine's now being completely dismantled. So we've got the crankcases here, gearbox there, crank. In these boxes we've got the barrel, the clutch, and so on and so on, with the head behind me. So next then, I have to take the crankcases away to get the damage to the points cover area repaired, get it welded up, machined, drilled, tapped and so on. Also, what's going to have to happen is that the clutch, which is in here, will be modified, will be given a special sort of modification that Jeff has developed over the years, specifically for 650 clutches, and we'll cover that again at a future date. I also need to find a new cam, I think, a new exhaust cam, and I found one. In fact, I found a complete head which looks in really good condition and a really good price. One thing I have found with 650s is the spare parts are so much cheaper than for those for a Z900 or Z1 or a Z1000. So I got a complete head with cams in pretty good condition for £55 plus about £10 postage. That same head for a Z900 or a Z1000 in that condition will be closer to probably £400, so you can see there's a huge difference. So we do need a lot of parts. So when we rebuild the engine, we've got to have a new high-bow chain, we've got to get a new cam chain, obviously all new gaskets and so on. We're not sure yet if we need a rebore on the barrels, but they look okay, we just haven't checked them yet, and ditto for the pistons and piston rings. What else? So yeah, no doubt when Les gets back from making us both a cup of tea, he can go through what is found as it's been taking apart the engine. And so now here we are back home again on a very cold morning. It's currently about -3 degrees, so I'll be quick out here. So my next job is to degrease these engine cases before they can go off to be welded, and to do that I've got some degreaser, various brushes and so on, so I better crack on. And so there's the first lower case done. It's still pretty bad, but it's good enough for the time being. And now I've got to repeat the process, but this time with the upper case. And so I've just spent about an hour or so degreasing these two crankcases, which is a disgusting, filthy job, but someone's got to do it, and that someone is me. They're not perfect because I've not had a lot of time today, but anyway, when they're dried off and cleaned off, I'll take these cases to Jeff Welder's place, where no doubt I'll leave it there for a while, and hopefully he can sort out the broken parts of the crankcases by building it up with weld. Once that's done, I'll take the cases to the other Jeff's place, where he can dress the weld, flan it all off, drill it and tap it, and hopefully that's it. The cases are then good to go, and they can then be vapor blasted back to a natural alloy finish. Well, anyway, that's the plan. And now it's another cold morning, and I've just got the cases back from Jeff the Welder. As you can see, he's now filled these broken areas with weld, cleaned it up a bit. So now these cases have to go off to Jeff's workshop, where he can machine them back and drill and tap the holes that are required to mount the points cover. Right. So where we? Oh. Right, Jeff, here we are in a very cold workshop. Yes, you've got the heater on, but only just turned it on. Because right now it's snowing outside, it's -2.
Someone will put an iceberg under the garage.
Yeah, so I think we'll be quick here. So I brought you the cases, as you can see, we put them together. And where's the points cover? It's just behind you there. So you've got to use that with a strange Z on it, like that. And we'll use that as a datum points to mark out where the holes need to be in the cases, and then get them dressed, drilled, tapped.
What I need to do though is put it on this little horizontal miller.
Yes.
Just clamp them on so they're flat, and just clean that. So just take it down.
So it's nice and.
So it's just flat.
Yeah.
Because they're all, as you can see there now. That.
Yeah, it's just whatever Jeff did for me.
Yeah, but when you're welding there.
Oh yes.
So what we need to do really is to
make sure it's
mill it off flat.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. So, right. So basically then when the gasket goes on, it's thingy.
Right.
I've got my...
Yeah, you got a dripping nose. So we won't stay long in here.
Healthy dog in it.
Is it? No, I don't
Or
think
is it
so.
a bad dog?
Cold nose, warm heart. Yeah.
Oh, something
like that. Right, so we're going to go inside now and get warm and drink tea and sort out a problem with your PC.
Made out of a piece of...
Yes, I'll cover that. Yeah, I'll cover that in a minute. Yeah, that's actually for a different bike. Right, so with that then, we'll stop the... Right, so with that then we'll start off, because we're both freezing cold, and we'll come back another day when hopefully it's a bit warmer.
What they need to do is go out there and cause an explosion so the sun comes a bit closer.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, well.
Or blows us closer to the sun in
Either
winter.
that, or we should all move to Australia right now, where it's nice and warm.
They'll be on the beach, won't they?
Yes, they probably will, but not us. Right, okay.
Surfing and also.
Time for tea then.
Right.
Whew. Right, so you find me back at Jeff's workshop on by far the coldest day of the year. It's right now, it's -5 outside, and last night it was -10, and I think it's about -10 in here, even though we've just turned on the heating. So, what's going on? Well, Jeff's finished the work on repairing the damage to the cases from the crash it had some time ago. So we had the damage welded up, and then now he's machined this surface flat and drilled and tapped the holes. To do so, we had to make sure we drill the holes in the correct place, and to do that, sadly, we had to drill a hole in the centre of this points cover to hold it in place so we can carefully mark where we have to drill, or well, Jeff had to drill. So Mike, who donated the bike, if you're watching today, I'm sorry, but we had to destroy your little points cover that I think you must have modified. It's got a little Z there that's non-standard, but never mind, I'll hang that up somewhere on my garage wall and we'll remember this particular engine. So I've got to get a replacement for that. So with that done then, my next task is to prepare the engine cases for the rebuild. And to do that, I've decided not to keep the engine black, but to go with a natural alloy finish. So, different options to do that, and what I want to do is get the whole thing vapor blasted, because I found a near neighbour of mine actually has a vapor blaster, so I'm hopeful we can use that. But it turns out that vapor blasting is not a very aggressive process, it's very gentle, which is great. The problem is, it doesn't really remove the baked on black finish on cases such as these by Kawasaki. So I'm just doing a little experiment at the moment using this rather fantastic paint stripper. Now, modern paint strippers turn rubbish because they've taken out all the good stuff due to EU regulations. So yeah, modern paint stripper like Nitromos has gone rubbish, but this stuff apparently is not the modern stuff. It's quite old, and wherever it came from, it's really, really good. So we've just done a little experiment, just put a little blob of the paint stripper on here that I guess you can't see over there, but it does seem to be working quite well. We're scraping off the paint here. Now, I do think that this engine has been apart before, and parts of it have been painted over the original black, so I'm not quite sure we're removing the original finish or the overpaint, I'm not sure, but it looks like we're moving the original finish, which is great, because it means, with a bit of time and effort, I can use this paint stripper to strip the whole engine back to bare metal. I can then get it vapor blasted and save myself a lot of time, a lot of money, because otherwise I'd have to take this engine to be bead blasted first before it can be vapor blasted. At least that's what I've been told, and that ain't cheap. That ain't cheap. You also, of course, run the risk of letting any sort of bead or medium getting inside the engine, inside the oil bays, which we don't want. I believe vapor blasting doesn't do that because it's using water as well and it clears itself out, but we'll see. So my task for the next few days, I'll probably wait until it warms up a bit, because right now it's just too cold to be outside. I don't want to be cleaning off this engine inside here, Jeff's workshop, or even inside my workshop at home, because it just makes an absolute mess. So we'll come back in a little while. I'll take this stuff home with me, and I think actually Les donated this stuff to Jeff's workshop, so I'm going to borrow it. Hopefully I don't need to use too much of it, because it does seem to work really, really well. And then once it's cleaned up, we can get the engine cases vapor blasted, along with the cylinder head, the cam cover, everything, and then the engine rebuild can begin. And that'll happen no doubt in the new year, because right now it's almost Christmas and really it's too cold to do much work outside, and we're all going to be very busy with Christmas stuff. So yeah, so come back when I finish doing all this, and hopefully it'll look a lot better. And now here we are, back on my drive on quite a wet day. In fact, it's just starting to rain, so this will be a very quick video. As you can see, I've spent some time trying to strip off the paint from these engine cases and the sump and the cam cover, and it's taken hours and hours and hours. And I must say, I'm not getting very far with it. It's so difficult to do because all the nooks and crannies you've got to get the paint from. And even when I've got the paint off, I still see some staining in the aluminium that's going to be difficult to remove. So what I need to do is get these cases bead blasted. And as luck would have it, I know a man with a bead blaster, so in a minute I'm going to take these parts along with a big bag of tea as a payment, and hopefully he'll let me use his bead blaster and blast the rest of the paint off these cases. But since I've been spending hours on this thing, I have learnt a valuable lesson, and that lesson is don't bother. If you can afford it, pay somebody else to blast the paint off engine cases, because it's a hell of a job. It's a boring, tedious, thankless job, and I never want to do it ever again. So that's a lesson learnt, and I will never ever try and remove the original engine paint off a Japanese engine ever again, because it's just a ridiculously difficult thing to do. The paint's really well applied, sort of baked on, and there are so many nooks and crannies. It just becomes, as I say, just a never-ending task. So I'll stop here because it's now raining. I'll get these parts in the car, and hopefully when I see them again, I'll have them bead blasted. Fingers crossed anyway, fingers crossed. And now here we are. I'm just back from my friend's workshop, where of course he let me use his bead blaster. So here I've got the cam cover, looking a bit better. I've got the sump, which has certainly seen better days. That's all deep corrosion. It's not paint. So that's pretty badly corroded. I've also collected this. This is the barrel, which has had quite a lot of work. It had, I think, 6 small breaks to the fins, which have now been welded up and repaired by Jeff the welder, so that's fine. And finally, over here, just move that out of the way, we've got the engine cases, which again I've now blasted. I did it with the cases together to protect the internals a little bit. Now, looking at this, it still looks pretty damn bad because of the corrosion in the aluminium surface. So I've come to the conclusion this engine needs to be painted. It needs to be either powder coated or maybe painted with a ceramic finish, just like I've done with my other engines, which won't be cheap, but at least it will be a very good hard wearing finish. So that's what's next for this particular engine. I've got to do the same thing with the head, and then all these parts can go off to cam coat, where they'll have quite expensive, no doubt, silver ceramic finish. And now here we are back in my garage, and I've just got back from cam coat, where I left them with the engine cases, the sump, the barrel and the cam cover. I couldn't take the cylinder head yet because that needs to be checked, stripped down, possibly have it skimmed and the valve seats recut. I'm not sure yet, but that's not really a problem. We can get the cylinder head sorted out at a later date. That won't slow down the engine build very much. So in the meantime then, until I get those parts back, I can still do a few things with the 650. I've got to fit some more parts yet. I've got to fit the rear brake, some let's see, hand controls and so on. I can also make a start on the electrical system for the bike, and I must say I think I was a bit too keen when I ripped off the old wiring harness on the bike, because a lot of the time I just cut the wires because they're in really bad condition. So I'm going to have to build a wiring harness from scratch again. Now on the other projects I've got here, I tend to use the German company's Motor Gadget. I use their M-Unit Blue and their switchgear, but I'm not going to fit those parts to this bike because it just doesn't justify the cost. The M-Unit Blue is around £350, and the matching switches on the handlebars, they're about £100 per side. So looking at like more than £500 just for those parts, and I can't really justify the cost on this little 650. I have, however, found a similar system to the M-Unit Blue, but not as complicated, not as advanced, and an awful lot cheaper. It also, by the way, is from Germany, so I might buy one of them and see how it works on the bike, and then I can design the wiring harness for it and off we go. So all that will be happening in the new year, because right now it's almost Christmas, so things will slow down a bit. And so I'll end the video here. So thanks for watching, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas, because it's now the 24th of December, and a Happy New Year, and we'll continue with these projects in the new year.